All right, guys, you know how it is. We're going to start the show with some of the great people we have on board. We have a lot to get to this show, which I'm really excited for. I've been enjoying doing these. And as any of you who have been listening know, 2 times a week this month starts. Really excited for it. And before we get to any of that stuff, wanted to let you know, of course, that I've been using Ned, Chris has been using Ned, and CBD has become extremely popular, especially in the past year. And as the market becomes saturated, it becomes more and more difficult to navigate and choose the right company and product. That's where Ned comes in. They produce the highest quality CBD extracted from the finest organic hemp plants from a small homestead in the bountiful farmland of Paonia, Colorado. Ned is a wellness brand offering science backed and nature based solutions that offer an alternative to prescription and over the counter drugs. No isolates, no synthetic ingredients, full transparency. They actually share third-party lab reports on their website and who farms their products, the extraction process, any of that if you want to look it up right there on helloned.com. And their full spectrum hemp oil only contains their CBD extract and non-GMO MCT oil. That's it. As we've said before on the show, the taste is clean and pure. Whether you're looking at CBD as a sleep aid, anti-inflammatory, natural pain reliever, anxiety, post-traumatic stress treatment, depression treatment, source of rich antioxidants, or in your case, Chris, your ulcerative
Yeah,
colitis,
yeah,
which is really
inflammatory
great.
bowel disease. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so any of those are some of the great benefits you're going to get. And yeah, Ned will not get you high, as we've said before. Full spectrum hemp is a non psychotropic, once again, meaning it will not get you high. And Ned products contain a minuscule amount of THC, less than 0.3% as allowed by law. And I have to laugh at that one because I know that you've gotten messages, as have I, of some of the people that are in law enforcement that this, they can't really get a
Yeah,
chance to try this. But until the laws change, yeah, for the rest of us, it's a great product.
that makes no sense to me because you have guys, and I was one of those guys that would self-medicate with Jack Daniels. And how healthy is that for you
Exactly.
when you're going through things? So, law enforcement and state and federal governments, you need to fix your rules. But getting on a positive subject, we talk about the CBD oil, and it does a great job. And I've got to a point now where I'm leveled out that I really take it now. And I tried it morning, night, afternoon, and I was good actually anytime I took it throughout the day. But I'm at a point now where if I'm just feeling a little bit off, maybe it's low, maybe it's a little bit with some anxiety, that's when I'll take it. And so once you get it in your system, guys, then you can play around with the dosages and also the times to take it and find out what works best for you. But also the body butter. We haven't talked much about the body butter.
Sure.
I have used that, and I tell you what, for sore muscles as an analgesic, I just threw my back out on Monday cleaning my toilet. All
It's
the
it's
things
always something like that. It's never
I
like
know, I
deadlifting or
know.
it's always the stupid stuff. Yeah, it always happens.
But when you do that, the muscles get inflamed, and then they tighten up because they swell, and it's a mess. And put the body butter on. I've been using it anyway on my elbow, but I used it quite extensively on my lower back to get the muscles to loosen up to get inflammation out, and it worked tremendously. So we talk about the CBD oil. My gosh, just the body butter as an analgesic and an anti-inflammatory as a rub on instead of using icy hot or something like that. That
Yeah.
you smell my age, which is over 50. You smell that nice that it is tremendous. So your CBD oil, it speaks for itself. There, you don't. I preach for that, but also if you are an active individual, you're an athlete. You go to the gym, you run quite a bit. I highly recommend the body butter as an analgesic and anti-inflammatory as well as a topical. So fantastic stuff. So that's just another thing I found out. Really
No,
using
that's
it quite
great, man.
extensively. So yeah,
Yeah,
perfect stuff.
yeah, that's high praise. And I should throw out there, they also have the Natural Cycle collection for the women out there. So all different stuff. And yeah, if you want to check out Ned and try CBD, we have a special offer for the Battleline Podcast audience, which many of you guys have taken advantage of. Go to helloned.com, www.helloned.com/battleline, or enter Battleline at checkout for 15% off your order plus free shipping. That's HELLONED.com/battleline to get 15% off your order plus free shipping. Thank you, Ned. And every episode of ours, and now that we're doing 2 a week, it'll be 1 a week for them, is Fort Scott Munitions, who we love, stand behind. They're a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition that's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammo was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it also became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. And I should throw out there, shameless plug, you got some classes coming up for people in certain states, and you'll be using Fort Scott Munitions.
Yeah, we have one coming up in Oklahoma at Iron Gal Firearms there at Eddie Ranji's place in Kiefer, Oklahoma. It's right outside Tulsa. So a lot of pictures I'm sure we'll have on our Battleline Tactical website. And Ian, you're always good at reposting a lot of that stuff on the Battleline Podcast site. So if you're looking at ammunition, you still don't know what to get, go to next week on the Battleline Tactical website or the Battleline Podcast website. We'll have present pictures of my own, and you can see myself and Ben Morgan, and Eddie also uses Fort Scott Munitions at times, and you'll see it in action. So definitely great stuff, and we'll use it. I use it, and I use it for my home defense, and I can't say enough high praise about it. Every week I do. No problems with it, no issues with it, and it's extremely effective, and it's consistent. Tolerances are outstanding, and it works in short barrel rifles, and it also works in PDWs, which are the longer pistols by a half inch. They're both little carbines, ATF. Come on, give me a break. But that's what they're designed. I mean, the 300 Blackout I use and the 5.56 I use, it's designed for those short barrel rifles, and you need something specifically designed for those rifles, or else they'll be very ineffective. They'll have stoppages. So check out Fort Scott Munitions. And like I said, check out the Battleline Tactical Facebook page and Instagram page next week, and you'll have pictures and videos of us using them on the range and seeing it in action.
Yeah, man, the only complaint I've heard is that they're out of stock on a lot of stuff. So you got to go on the website and get it while you can. I know that they're hiring new people. I know they're going to restock on that stuff, but yeah, it's a heavy demand right now. So use that promo code. It's Battleline for 15% off your order, only available to listeners of this podcast, the Battleline Podcast. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Paranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. Once again, FortScottMunitions.com, FortScottMunitions.com, promo code Battleline for 15% off. And with that, let's get into everything.
On the microphones, pure and uncensored American straight talk. Never quit. You're locked and loaded with Chris Paranto and Ian Scotto. This is the Battleline Podcast.
Which is on, motherfucker, I'm going to shoot you in the face.
The switch is on, episode 26. Could you believe, I was just thinking about it, we're pretty much at the 6-month mark of doing this podcast.
I didn't know that, but I don't even know what time it is right now. And half the time I've got to get my alert, and I'm still late getting on the podcast. I remember you're always calling me, hey, dude, you ready? Yeah.
No, you called me prior.
Did I do it? Have I done that? See, senility kicks in. Senility's a motherfucker, dude.
Yeah. No, I just mean from before. You called me like an hour before, and I was just like, let me eat my lunch right now.
Oh, that's right. That's true. That's true. The brain is working when I'm out for a run. That's what I do my best work, when the endorphins are working. But yeah, it's amazing that we're this far into it, and we're having a good time doing it. And You know what I love? I love that both of you and I, we look at the numbers kind of, but that doesn't drive us to continue to want to do this. So that's what I think that's why we have so much fun. And we're like, oh my gosh, 26, because we're not always looking at, oh my gosh, what are the numbers we get? And how are we doing this week? It's, hey, how'd that go? I felt good. All right. Damned on the listeners. I mean, we want to pick listeners up, but we don't really concern ourselves with it a whole bunch. And I think that's a positive. And I think that's what honestly people should do whenever you're doing anything, is don't always look at the outcome down the road. I mean, you want to be effective, you want to stay positive, but just look on the now and just keep moving and things are always going to work out. And look how we're at 26. I don't think people thought we probably would get by 6, to be honest with you. So outstanding. And man, I know we're going to talk about the end of the show, but man, we got some pretty heavy people lined up next month. Oh, yeah. So kudos to you, brother. So I said, you're on a roll, man.
I mean, I'll throw out a few names that you'll see. I don't, I always, because things could always change down the line. But
don't jinx us.
What's cool to me though is actually cooler than numbers is people I'm a fan of saying I'm a fan of Tonto. Can't wait to talk to you guys. Like, I grew up listening to Korn, and when Dave Silvera is like, I'm a huge fan of Tonto, can't wait to come on, or Jimmy Allen from Puddle of Mud, like to see people I'm a fan of, I know that like 13-year-old me or 16-year-old me is excited that this is what I get to do.
That is so, and those are the guys when I was at Range Battalion that we talked about last episode that I grew up in the military on. I grew up listening to Puddle of Mud and oh my God, Follow the Leader. Was that that album? I remember that the album cover. It was they're playing hopscotch and the girls going over. That was such a big deal back in the day. But those guys, man, just rocking out to Korn and to get Jonathan Davis. I still want to learn. Maybe Dave can teach me how he does that. I can't even do it. The grumbling sound when he's like rapping but not rapping, and it's just I love it when he did that first time with the guys from the West Side Connection, Ice Cube and this is the other one. Gosh,
I know you're talking about a WC, right?
WC,
Mac 10.
Yeah, Mac 10.
I know my music.
Yeah, and there you go. Awesome. I knew you'd know him. And especially when the music video came out and they're doing basically he's doing a crip walk is what he's doing.
Yeah, they got the life video.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That video is outstanding too, because it's like, and honestly, I don't know how he feels. I kind of understand a little bit of what that video is about like when I nuked all my social media pages, because you're like, to hell with this, give the finger. I'm tired of this life. F you. I'm going to start over and just be normal. And that video actually exemplifies that, driving the Ferrari off into the canal, Los Angeles. What is that? The Los Angeles Canal, giving it away to a homeless person. One of the guy that played bass.
CLD. Yep. I remember that. Yep.
So I love their music, and Puddle of Mud, Blurry, still one of the best songs out there ever. Still. Timeless.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it more when Dave is on. I mean, we have Kristof coming on for this show, but he was such an integral part of that band because, he's no longer in Korn, but Korn never really had a big hit without him. Every song that people know, whether it's Blind or Got the Life or Freak on a Leash, that was all David. And I think that they're missing him. And he seems like a great guy from the time that I actually got to talk to him previously. I know that he is a strong Second Amendment guy, supporter of you. So it's cool to talk to these guys and see that cross section. With that, we have an email from a listener sent to Battleline Podcast at gmail.com that I thought was good. This is from David Eden, and keep sending these in. We'll try to get to them at the top of the show if they're good questions and to the point, like this one. Chris, while deployed, did you ever see guys, good or bad, carry eccentric or unusual guns? Stuff outside the usual military issue these days. Just curious if this sometimes happens in real life, not just an action novel trope. Thanks, Dave.
No. Most guns, because there's a plethora. I still love using the plethora. That's my El Jefe. Three Amigos lineage that goes through, but the plethora of guns. There's so many AKs and PKMs and so the bad guys and even the good guys that were working with local nationals in the various countries, it's still AK-47s. It's still PKMs, which are the belt-fed machine guns that are out there. They're just, it's just what country are you getting them from? You getting them from Pakistan so they break, or are you actually getting the Russian-made ones that work consistently and are effective, or the Chinese ones that break as well? So, I'm trying to think what was the most outrageous gun. Honestly, the Makarovs in Afghanistan were still. Actually, I taught Makarov. I taught classes. The local NDS National Defense Service guys. I was an instructor for the Afghanis. The NDS is their version of the CIA. Actually taught them how to use the Makarov. I taught a Makarov class.
Nice.
Yeah, and those are actually pretty cool guns. They're just they can go off. They can go off accidentally with nobody standing around them. But that's just a Makarov, so it's not a gun that's just outlandish you've never seen. So that's a great question. But yeah, I'd be honest. And with us, it usually was a carbine of sort, whether it was a Colt, whether it was a Bushmaster, whether it was HK-416s were all the rage when I was in. That was like the big thing because all the gas-driven weapons were going to piston-fired weapons because of the dirt. Piston you didn't have to clean them as much, and they wouldn't bog down in all that fine dust over in Afghanistan or Iraq or Libya or whatever desert country you were in. So yeah, brother, I wish I could say I saw a super space gun with the Luke Skywalker grip and the kung fu backstrap, but no, everything was what you would honestly see in a movie. It says a lot for AK-47s that have been around forever. Those things work. They just work. The coolest thing, though, I could say that I saw, and this was in Kandahar, and then Coast, was when they started to mount 203 tubes, the 40 mic tubes on AK-47s. I'd never seen that before. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. That's little AK-47, and then it had a 203 tube on it. That was pretty awesome. And then the AK, there is an actual. It's not a joke. There is an actual AK-74, and it's a different caliber. Those are cool as hell, and they're just longer barrel, little smaller round. And it's just designed to shoot a little faster and be a little farther. You can mount a different scope on it. And those were pretty awesome. But you saw those every once in a while. But I just think they're just harder to come by just because of the money. And there just weren't a ton of them made. And they're used for a specific purpose. And that is more for long range or sniper from the bad guys, which thank God we didn't see a ton of them because they are extremely effective weapons. So, yeah, bro, I wish I did. I wish I had a RoboCop gun. I say, yeah, here's this. But nah, it's all the same in Americans. No, we are kind of hindered by the Geneva Convention and by NATO what we have to carry, and even ammunition. You couldn't bring ammunition that wasn't green tip ammunition and military grade ammunition in, or we get in trouble. And we did in Iraq. We would bring armor piercing rounds. We bring a different sort of fragmentary rounds in. But if we got caught, then I'll tell you right now, we had to smuggle them in. If we got caught with that, we would get pulled up on charges by the State Department. So we stopped doing it because guys actually started to get caught. And but we felt like we needed them at the time, especially armor piercing instead of the green tip. But of course, we follow rules even in war, which makes a lot of sense. Can you hear the irony in my voice? I'm being, but our enemy doesn't. Sounds like gun laws here, huh?
Yep.
But yeah, brother, great question. And I, off the top of my head, and I believe me, I would remember if I saw some crazy gun out there, but I didn't. I just saw the standard. And again, AK-47s, man, those are everywhere, and those things still drive nails, and they'll kill you. They'll kill you in a heartbeat. So I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed that I never had to feel the jolt of an AK-47 bullet, a 7.62 by 3.9 bullet. But I know some of my friends did. So, but yeah, bro, I wish I had some better answer for you, some cool answer, but I don't.
No, I think that's a great answer. Before we get to Kristof, I know you had a couple of things you wanted to get into maybe quickly. You were saying you had something to say about urbanization currently and bringing production back to the U.S.
Well, yeah, I think a lot. And this is what I always with this coronavirus thing going on, and you and I, and we both, I think both of us have stayed pretty positive throughout this whole thing. And we've also.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You know what's kept me positive, honestly, man, is podcasts. It's not just because of what we do. I mean, I like doing it, but I think even though I've been in this industry for 14 years, it made me realize how important it is to me. Like, whether it's listening to Eddie Trunk or listening to Covino and Rich or Joe Rogan's podcast or, Bobby Lee, Tiger Belly. I listen to so many podcasts, but I know you're more of like a movie guy. I just think having the connection of people who are going through this and kind of keeping us distracted with other entertaining things. And hopefully we're doing that same thing for people. And that's kept me positive for sure.
That's the way news should be. You're not getting sound bites anymore. And that's what sucks about the mainstream media. You are going to be manipulated into a direction. It doesn't matter how strong that you think you are, or how I'm not going to let them move me into that. You're going to get manipulated, or you have 4 minutes. 4 minutes, you got a sound bite, and who knows what's going to happen in those 4 minutes that you mean, and you never get to say what you really mean. It's just blam, sound bite. And so, that sucks. If this is the way to go for people to get information. But what I was saying with the urbanization, and what I was saying with the what was the question?
I remember I asked you before. I was like, do you want to hit on anything? You said urbanization and bringing production back to the US.
Well, I just did a podcast with Ian Trottier is how say his name. And he asked a question. He goes, what do you think can come out of, or what's coming to come out of this COVID thing? And I said, well, or what have we learned? And that's what I was getting at, is thinking of this as a positive. This is a time for us to look at our country, come back and say, okay, it's time to start doing our AARs. We're getting through this, and you can see by the numbers, and just look at the numbers, you can see we are getting through this.
For sure.
But you and I even talked about it, 4 or 5 podcasts ago. Hey, what should we do? And I even said, hey, let's not worry about it right now. Let's just continue on what we're doing. Let's get through it first. But once we start to come out of it, let's start to do an AR to see where we went wrong and what we can do to improve as a country. Well, that's one of the things I see is that. And you said it best, and to me, and it kind of made me go, yeah, she's right. When you said we don't provide any resources anymore to the world except movies. That's what we do. Well, we're seeing that now, that's hindering us because we don't produce. We aren't self-reliant anymore. We depend on, again, the irony in this, we depend on China for a lot of our consumables. Yeah. That's ridiculous. We need to bring everything back. And that's not being racist. That's not being discriminatory. That's being a good country, being responsible to your own citizens, being self-reliant. Is that
or I would even say at least to nations that are favorable towards us. You know what I mean? Not our enemies.
Your allies, definitely. And having farms again, having the steel plants. I know they put out a bunch of pollution. I wasn't bringing steel, but having the manufacturing plants back again, the big ones that when I was growing up, and we are smart enough now that we can. The CEOs out there, you guess you can't take your $1 billion bonuses. You're gonna have to put some of that money back in pollution control. But doing that, so when something like this ever happens again, we don't have, and I think some of it is hysteria, but the shortages of items out there, not just in the grocery stores, but in the hospitals. And that goes back to hospital administrators. You got to stay on top of it. You got to be ready for the worst case scenario, which our government and the hospitals weren't. We didn't have that inventory, that surplus inventory that we did before the 2000, whenever the H1N1 came out. So we had that massive surplus.
And I think some of it, I mean, you definitely could blame on just poor allocation of money, which is always, the country as a whole pays a ridiculous amount in taxes.
Yeah.
And what those taxes go to a lot of the times are stuff that we would all be outraged by if we
Yeah,
really looked at it, piece by piece. Funding our enemies and,
oh yeah,
as
oh yeah.
opposed to having ventilators.
And that goes back to if something breaks down, worst case scenario again, if we have the production here that we don't have to go outside the United States to get things built, like whatever pieces we need for ventilators or hospital beds or just toilet paper or bullet or whatever. It's all right here. We have it in our country. But well, the costs are going to go up. Well, you know what? We're going to have to pay a little bit more. And again, CEOs out there, I guess you're not going to be able to live in an $80 billion house anymore. You can live in a $10 billion house and still be fine. I guarantee you're going to be fine. All right. Only have one jet instead of 10. You're going to be fine. But that's where I get it. And then that's where it comes with the urbanization. And I just look out my window in Omaha and saw when I moved to Omaha in 95, you could come into Omaha and you were seeing cornfield after cornfield after cornfield. And now because we aren't self-reliant, because we don't pay the farmers they need to, they're selling their farms off. And God, I mean, do you blame them? They're not making any money. They're losing money being farmers, and they're building houses and they're building these crappy apartments. I mean, I got 2 crappy ass apartments right down the road from my house here in North Omaha where there used to be trees and fields. Yeah. And it just destroys neighborhoods. And I go run now, and thank you, Mayor Stothert and Don Bacon, for that. I really appreciate that, you money grubbers. But I go down running outside here in North Omaha, and what that brings into it, I know people say, well, people need places to live. Well, we do. You just got to fix up the places that you're letting go dilapidated instead of building up. But what this brings in though is just trash everywhere. We've got a dollar store. Okay, we got a dollar store right next to my house now. And down the road, a mile away, we have a strip mall that has so many open stores that nobody's ever rented in, that they very well just could have done a mile away and put a dollar store in there. But instead, they just demolished a whole forested area, wooded area, to put a dollar store. And now when I go running by it, and I run a lot, everybody knows I go jogging every day that I can, there is just trash everywhere. So when you urbanize, again, you just destroy neighborhoods. And I've seen that firsthand in my area here in North Omaha. I know we see that. You see that in New York. We see that everywhere. It needs to stop, brother. And that goes back to self-reliance, keeping the farms, keeping places that we can produce and provide and build up, and giving farms in particular. For me, have a soft spot for farmers. Growing up on a farm, my grandfather was a farmer. But putting money back in that so we have produce again. We don't depend on other countries to provide us with things, but then also keeping those farmers going, stopping the urbanization of areas that really need to stay. They need our natural resources. They need to stay trees. There need to be trees and nice open areas and areas that, and I have a firm belief in this, areas that oxygenate. Help me, oxygenate.
I'm not helping you with that one.
I know oxidate the air and oxidate. There we go. I got it. My master's degree paid off. Believe me. Oxidate the air and it all comes down to.
I love the Tontoisms. We got to make like a compilation.
We do. It's the same thing as that. We really are destroying this country. We're destroying it because of money, because of greed, and it bothers me. And we've seen that now with what this has happened because of money and greed, and you're right, piss poor allocation of resources, not being resilient, not having the ability to produce here in the United States the things that we need. We're seeing with this hysteria, pandemic, whatever you want to call it, with this virus, you're seeing those weaknesses. Now we have a chance to fix them. I don't think they're going to get fixed because politicians care more about getting reelected than really fixing things within the United States. But it's just my rant, my runoff. I guess I did my little rant. I don't do rants, but because it's time we could fix this, because it makes me angry, because all this could have been avoided. Yes, it could have, we're not going to learn from it, even though we should. And
I think some things you will, and I do want to get Kristof on. The one thing I guess I could add though is I think the one positive that we will learn, and like for sure, is that I think people are gonna see that there's not always a need to have hundreds of people crammed into an office building in New York City, and that some of those people could work from home. Like the guy who lives below me in my apartment, he works like in the stock market in New York City. He's like, there's nothing I can't do from home that I, was going into the city to do. There's a ton of people like that. And I think some of those people will say, well, if I could do the job from home, maybe I don't need to pay all this rent in New York City. Maybe I don't need to live in these crowded areas. Maybe I could move to like a house in Montana and do the exact same job that I'm doing and fly to New York City for like a quarterly conference or something. Yeah, I think that you're going to see just because it makes sense. You know what I mean? And it's not going to cost anybody. I think jobs, if anything, they're just going to be like this just logically makes sense that we don't need to have everybody in the same building at the same time. With that, and because I do want to get to Kristof.
No, get Kristof on. Yep.
Yeah. So before we do, Fort Scott Munitions, as we were saying before, is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition. It's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammo being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, as Tonto will tell you, ensuring that you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in every state, as well as directly online. Once again, through FortScottMunitions.com. That's munitions. Use exclusive promo code Battleline for 15% off your order. Only available to listeners of the Battleline Podcast. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. With that, very excited to dial up Kristof Lewis right now, who we've been meaning to have on for a while.
Yeah, I was on his podcast, and he actually he's got a good following. I would even say cult-like following, which is awesome. But God-fearing man, Navy veteran, just a tremendous guy. So, and you guys all find out here.
I think he just joined us on the call, so he hears
he's such an asshole, and I hate him. Oh, he's on. Oh shit, sorry. Damn it. No, it's good to hear from you, brother. Thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. I've been looking forward to it. How's it going today?
No, we're excited, man. This is great. I could actually tell you one of the people very excited to have you on, and Chris knows it, is his wife Tanya. She was on the phone raving about you to me, to be honest, and saying like, I love the way Kristof goes into certain things. I love the way that he inspires people in a really different way than other shows. And she was like, you got to listen to him. She's a big fan of your podcast and what you do. So
that's so cool. No, you guys are awesome. I always appreciate the support. It's like one of those things where you get so obsessively about something like creating content, for example, in this example, and you forget like that people actually are like watching and listening sometimes. And it sounds crazy, right? But like sometimes you go a long time without feedback and it's just overwhelming. So it's good to hear that stuff.
Oh shit! I get feedback all the time from my wife. Are you kidding me? Feedback? I'm always getting feedback. Yeah, what the hell did you do that for? Why'd you say that? Oh, that's okay. Oh man, you're fat. Yeah,
and that is sure that one, because I could tell that you are in the same category as us, where it's like we're in this company of people not pushing any certain agenda. We're just speaking our mind. And I think that's why it doesn't feel like a job. We're just trying to do something motivational that appeals to a wide audience. So for people who don't know you, which I know a lot of the audience does, Kristof is a Navy Special Warfare vet, host of the Kristof Lewis podcast, which Chris was once again featured on episode 109, if you dig back in the archives. And I think a good way to start everything actually would be your background. And, this audience is pretty familiar with different branches of special operations, but I think some people might say, hey, I know what the SEALs are. What exactly is NSW? So they might want to hear from you, like what exactly you do and maybe even a little bit of what Navy Special Warfare is.
Yeah, sure. No problem. So as you guys were saying in the introduction, my name is Chris Lewis Cockrell, or Kristof. I go by that. My mom immigrated here from Hungary in the 80s sometime, and she's been calling me that. So it's been interesting. It was 9 years in the Navy. I got out a year and a half ago. I spent half that time in NSW, which is Naval Special Warfare, like you guys said. But I was what's called a electronics technician and it's a really versatile rate. Like you can pretty much do anything within the Navy. And I ended up getting recruited to go to a command called DevGru as essentially combat support. So I got fully qualified to go.
And for the audience, could I say SEAL Team 6, even though you're not saying
you can say, I'll say, most of the people know what DevGru is on this one, Chris, but you can say, you can say SEAL Team 6. I don't think there's a Hellfire going to come in. You can't even say Delta. You said Delta 8 million. No
Chris,
Hellfires are coming in.
Yeah, I'm so ingrained not to say it that I just don't. You know, like for real. So, I was at that place.
I was at that secret place. I was at Little Creek.
Shit.
I was at Dam Neck.
Everybody, after 2011 time frame, everybody pretty much knows what it is. But I honestly, on a serious note, I was super humbled to be there. Like joining the Navy as an electronics technician, you don't wrap your head around being able to be in a position like that. As a combat support guy, you have to try out to go to that command. So absolutely humbled to be there. But I did work my ass off to get there. So essentially what that means, it's a special pocket within the Navy. Of course, everybody, like we said, everybody knows about SEALs. SEALs work within a tiered system, without getting too technical. There's multiple tiers in the Navy, 1, 2, and 3, quote unquote, big Navy. The guys on the ships are in 3, and then SEALs are in 2. And then that little niche is in 1. So I got to work with those guys as doing electronics and networking. And then my favorite part of the job was what we like to call an RTO, or a radio telephone operator. And I fell in love with that job. I really liked it. I got to go to some really cool remote places to be able to do that. And quite honestly, I can genuinely say the path that I'm on right now in my life, even though I'm out of the Navy now, is a direct result of all those experiences that I had and being able to work next to those guys. I've talked about being able to, walk next to giants. And I genuinely feel because for people that don't know, it's one thing, one level of badassery to get to naval special warfare as a SEAL. But those guys that are there have been through hell and back, worse than buds, worse than most people know. So to think about a guy that just got in the Navy a year and a half ago, and they're going to trust you to work next to them and do their comms, which I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with communications, but it's kind of important, right? You need it. Lifeline. So it was just a gut check, man. And I was coming from a really selfish place before the Navy and just didn't know anything about myself. And so it was a good chin check to be able to work with those guys for about 4.5 years. So out of my 9 years in the Navy, about half of that time was, as they say, on the tip of the spear. And then my career took a pivot, and I left that command, and I ended up taking the tail end of my career at the I guess if we're going to use the spear analogy, the opposite end of the spear. And I was on a shore command in charge of a center for communications for all the Atlantic fleets. And it was great. So it was interesting because I was actually talking about creating content. I made a post about how the spear, you can be on the tip of the spear and you can be on the quote unquote back of the spear, the handle of the spear, but every part of the spear, it contributes to the death of its enemy, right? The spear can't penetrate and kill its enemy without being thrown from the handle, So I didn't have that attitude when I got to that second command, I felt a little privileged to be at that first command. And so I had a shitty attitude going into the second place before I got out. But, it's funny because I ended up learning almost more about myself because of that, with dealing all those emotions that I got there. So before I get into too many things and too far off track, to recap, it's just 9 years in the Navy, half of that in special warfare as an RTO doing communications and networking. And then the second half of that in a leadership position, taking care of shore command communications that dealt with the Atlantic fleets. And then I leveraged the training from that initial command in IT to be able to get some IT jobs outside of the Navy. And I'm still working in IT right now.
That's amazing. No, I agree. You're spot on with everybody's, and it just goes back. Everybody's important. Everybody has a job, and guys that don't have that chip on their shoulder when they come into a tier 1 unit, those are the ones that are most fun to work with. And the tiers, there's jackasses, and there's idiots in tier 1 too. Believe there's guys like Jesus, what the hell? And there's idiots in the white soft realm, but I've worked with some and the white guy. I'm sorry, white soft. That's another secret code word. Those are the regular seals. The vanillas. You all have tiers, TF.
Yeah, I am not going to get caught on this podcast saying.
I'll get all that, dude. I don't give a shit. I used to work for. I'm saying CIA too. I also work for the CIA. But the white. But I've worked with guys. Another one, even specifically a guy named Mike Haynes, who was a white soft, who was just a regular SEAL, which it's still quite an accomplishment. But he was tremendous, and he was better tactically than some of the blue guys I worked with. So it all comes down to the attitude and having the guys that are working and that combat support guys that are working. I hate using support because I think that's a derogatory statement. It's not, but that is much important. That's so much important because you can't succeed without that, and without having the comms. Comms I love comms, but they're hard as hell. I was always the guy that would raise my hand. Yeah, I want to get certified on the 117 or the SINGARs. Send me to Harris there at Balad. I want to go work the Harris guys and learn all that and set up SATCOM. But brother, as soon as I left class and I got certified and I came back, if I didn't stay on it, it would be like 48 hours. Like, what the hell? Which way does this satellite go? Is this what?
There's too much to know with communications in general. That's what I've experienced now because I'm in IT now too. There's just too much shit to know. So you got to keep up on that stuff like anything. Yeah. It definitely right. But it's so cool. The stuff is essential in a combat environment. It's extremely essential if you don't have those comms. Because you're not getting backup, and as you can see, even in Benghazi, even if we do have comms, you're not getting backup. Depending on who the president is, you may not get backup. That's my only political statement I'll make this whole time. That's it. I don't get political, but you're spot on. You got to have it, and especially for air support, you got to have it for that. Now, I was going to ask because we didn't get into it too much. Did you get into, did you do any of the CAS missions? Were you qualified to go out and call CAS in and stuff like that? No, we don't get qualified. They reserve that just for the SEALs. That's one of the big differences, actually, at least in the little groups that I was part of the smaller groups. Not so anyways, they are the ones that do that. I did more of what I would just say I'm going to try to break it down on more layman's terms for your audience too, but line of sight communication, so point-to-point communications, and then of course satellite communications. Like if you go to my Instagram and see that big old antenna on my back, I threw a directional antenna, and I just got I got the best with that, man. I'm telling you, as clunky as it was.
That is awesome, bro.
You know what I wanted to ask you about, because just to go back to something you said, you were saying like prior to being in NSW, you had your attitude was more selfish, the way that you put it.
So bad, yeah, man.
So here's the thing I was wondering, and my friend Jack Murphy, we've had on the show, is the one guy I've heard put it this way, and I think even Chris has agreed when I've said it. He's one of the few guys I've heard say, look, I didn't become an Army Ranger because I love the country and I was all about service. He was like, honestly, it was my own selfish goal. And I think a lot of guys are afraid to say that. Was that what it was for you? Do you say, was this more of like a selfish goal to be a special operator?
Yeah. So the thing is like, I was in a really bad place and I didn't know it before the military. And I think my dad recognized that within me. He's a Vietnam vet, not by choice. He was drafted.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's a little bit older, but he kind of saw I was in a reckless place. I mean, I was just like a busboy server type thing, just doing drugs and drinking and just really going nowhere with my life with no idea with what I wanted to do, which is like crazy. Because if you follow me now, like I'm completely opposite than that, which I think is dead proof that you can change if you want to and if you take the necessary steps, which we can talk about. But to answer your question more specifically, like I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I think my dad stepped in because he saw too many late nights of picking me up or doing something that he was sick and tired of. And he suggested the Navy. I don't remember why. I mean, I looked into it, literally had no idea what I was getting into, thought I was in a bad dream when I was in boot camp. But I realized like, and I kind of relate it now, like you think of people that are addicts, drug addicts, and I wasn't an addict, but I'm just saying in for the sake of the story, like addicts, and they go to try to get clean, and it's just like the worst thing ever. At least that's what I hear. And honestly, I was on a really bad path where that could have been me. And I think going to boot camp was that cleanse, that societal cleanse for me. So I didn't have any inclination of what I wanted to do. And I just happened to get I happened to be an ET. Like you could have been an electronics technician or a fire control man, and they just threw ET at me, which is like I said earlier in the podcast, where you can pretty much go wherever and do whatever. So there was this random chance occurrence when I was still in training, like still in school, and they're like, hey, this is pre-UBL and all that. Like, hey, this command is doing some recruiting. You want to go do it? And I was like, what is it? They're like, it's special warfare. I was like, done. Like, I'll go try out for it. So they took me down from like 112 recruits to like, I was one of 4 that made it. And then when I got there, then I realized like, oh, this is what's going on here. And I love this. Like, I absolutely love it. And then I try to get as much qualified as I possibly could to be able to do the direct support, as we were saying. And what that means is essentially, again, in layman's terms, to go outside the wire, to not just sit on base and be able to support and do the communications. But so I think to answer your question best, like, again, to reiterate, it's just like, I didn't really have a plan to go and do like NSW stuff, right? To do like some, as they say, some higher speed things. I just wanted to go in, and because of that background I was in, man, I didn't want to feel shitty about myself and not know what the hell I wanted to do with my life. And I think it was that shell shock of like getting jolted around in like initial boot camp, being told what to do, and then obviously being humbled to work next to those guys I did when I got to the command, and honestly everybody else, because like I said, everybody gets screened to go there. So those are like some badass guys, like at every level, at every single person that's there, whether they're a SEAL, whether they're like me and ET and IT, their admin, like everybody is hot shit. And I'm not saying that's who I am, but I'm saying your competition like is good. So it's hard to excel at that. And those people, like the saying goes, if you're around those kind of people who are type A and really want to get after it, like you're only going to succeed, or you're going to get weeded out, right? So I think that was a pivotal place in my life to help me grow, to go from this essentially loser. I was this loser who didn't know what they wanted, who was selfish, who just wanted to drink and do drugs and other things. And I got put into this place, and it was, like I said, it was like shell shock. It just completely tore me out of what I knew, and just was this metamorphosis. And it kind of sounds cheesy, but honestly, that's like the best way to put it, man.
Well, that's when you talk about it. People, what Ian's getting into and say, well, did we do it because of the patriotism? No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We did it because we wanted to better ourselves, or we wanted to prove something to ourselves, or we wanted to fix our fucking selves. Which in your case, that's what it sounds like. Right?
Yeah, and it's all of those things. I mean, I think you're gonna have a certain level of all of that. Like, would I die for the flag? Fuck yeah, like absolutely, without hesitation, through and through. Nothing would get in front of that, But and I love that, but there's just so much work that needed to be done on me, and I didn't know it. So I think it's not like for me, it's not really like a simple answer. I wouldn't say the primary reason is because I love this country, even though I always have. And like I said, my mom came here and instilled that in me as well, the land of opportunity, because she came here for work, So I get that, man. I love it.
No, I agree. Again, we talked about my game. Of course, that's what I understand what the flag drape coffins mean, because I sat next to one for I don't know how many hours flying. I've done it all. I've loaded that. I've loaded them on. I've fought to see the person that I'm actually loading on with the flag drape coffin that I'm sitting next to after we took a sheet off of him. Yeah. So I get all it, but all that came for me, that patriotism, and really came after after I proved, after I proved it again when I got kicked out the first time. But that's what we're saying. To me, I think Jack is the same way. I think a lot of guys from I can't speak for the SWIC guys. I can't speak for the NSW guys as much. I mean, somewhat. I mean, because we're all in the SOCOM community. But for most Rangers, I would say that. I would say, yeah, we were patriot, but more so after the fact. After you get in there at the battalion, you're like, oh yeah, now I get it. Now I understand. Now it's the teamwork. I'm going to die for my Ranger brother, but the flag especially, because you don't really know unless you know. But you knew even more than me, because with a dad that was in Vietnam, I think even more so you understood. But and that could go the other direction, and we didn't really talk about that. And I wouldn't mind hearing about that if you don't talk about it, because you have Vietnam, and I know a lot of buddies that are from Vietnam veterans that are that don't trust their government, that feel that they were wronged, and then there's a ton that are extremely patriotic as well. So I don't know, maybe I'd like to hear a little bit about that, and maybe direction. Did that help push you to go the route you wanted to, or was it an obstacle that you're like, because he didn't want you to go that way? He said, nah, stay away from all that.
I think it was an obstacle, but if I could reply to your first point too, I definitely feel as if my patriotism was exacerbated by that time.
Yeah.
And the experiences I had. I mean, I don't know if we talked about it on my podcast, but like my first deployment was a tragedy. Like it was terrifying, and it still is. Just I think about it every day, and we can get into that too later. But
yeah, I would. We didn't talk about that at all.
Yeah, and it's things like that just like leveled up that mindset. You know, like, you really have no other choice but to like come through. But
I mean, I would love to hear that. What was that first deployment?
Yeah, so that first deployment was so I went to Afghanistan a few times, Africa, and that first deployment was I mean, a lot of, you can Google it, but Extortion 17, the Chinook that went down.
Yeah. We touched on it, but we didn't have time. So if you can go in, if you can, bro, and believe me, you don't have to. If you can't go into it, don't. But I think our listeners would get a lot out of it, because our podcast is like yours. Hey, how do you overcome adversity? How do you overcome obstacles, especially at this moment in time with these things going on right now?
So I think it's, I'm going to say it, and I even recorded an episode about it. It took me like 7 or 8 years to talk about it on that level, but I think with now everybody kind of knowing like who I was and what I was doing before the Navy, and like as I was saying, like I was this little shithead essentially, and then I get in the military is one thing, boot camp, and then I get over to the command, and it's another thing, and it definitely is like you need to grow up, not literally, but the environment requires it of you. And so when I landed over there, I was the FNG, the new guy. And so what I was doing, my responsibility, I wasn't qualified. I couldn't do anything. So all I would do was run out to the helos, and I would load the crypto on the bird, do the check, spin up the ACU with the guys there and everything, and do the crypto checks and just make sure they're good. And then I would be the guy that would just drive the bus of all the, the team guys and the support guys, the other RTO and all those guys out there, and just, salute them. Hey, see you guys later, that kind of thing. So that was just one facet of my job out there. Now, on the night of 05/06 August 2011, I was just doing the same thing, and they had a mission where they had to go out real quick, and so I ran out there, did the same thing, because they were helping out you guys, the Rangers actually. And that's a long story, probably we don't even have for this, but the way that the Rangers came through, and I don't think I've ever got to talk to them about this, or, in general, but the way that they came through after the fact, getting through the firefight that we went to go rescue you from, but you guys got through it and came back and held the site down. Are you kidding? Like it was the most heroic shit I've ever seen on ISR. And so if we backtrack for a second, it was just another night, and went out there, stepped on the bird, put the crypto on there, and then after we dropped them off, and then I just ran off the bird, because they're sprinting on there a little bit different, little time sensitive stuff like we were saying, and see my buddy Jared Day, he's the RTO and my mentor. He was teaching me how to be an RTO, and I just go, see you fucker later, just see you later. And then the bird takes overhead, and just boom, right over my head, and then I just drive back, and by the time I get to my hooch and I look in the ISR, I just you hear those those two terrible words that you never want to hear, fallen angel. And what the fuck does that mean? I don't know what that means at the time. And I'm just looking at this screen, and I just see a burning pile of, you can't fucking see what it is, man. You just can't. And so on and so that's going from being a shithead teenager to in my early 20s to experiencing something like that, and then the absolute shift of everything imaginable after that, within my own head, within the compound, within the community, is just you just can't. You either crumble or you grow, and you grow up quick, and everybody there that I was with, because of the type of guys and girls that are selected to go there, helped each other, and we still help each other. It's been 9 years this year, and it's almost been 9 years, right? And we still help each other, reach out to each other, and that unequivocally was the first instance in my life, in adult life, my life, yeah, my entire life, where I was forced by environment to grow up, and something I had never experienced. I have friends die in high school, but I'd never experienced something like that, being so close to something like that. And so to answer what we're talking about, yeah, that was a little bit of it. And there's other things there, like you're talking about, having to sit next to your buddies, and like I said in my podcast when I recorded my experience on it with a little bit more detail, like we're carrying body bags to the plane, and you carry some body bags and the blood's all over you, and you're like, this fucking weighs 50 pounds, man. Maybe you're 50 pounds, or you feel other ones and they're 200 pounds or whatever, and you're just like, fuck, dude. And I never smelled death before. Are you kidding me? This little punk ass, like. And so all these little experiences that I'll never forget began to form why I care right now, why I give a fuck about other people, and why I do what I do in helping other people as much as I possibly can, because I understand. And again, I am totally comfortable with saying cliches, but we don't know if this is like our last day on earth, because God knows they were going to go out there and they were going to get it. They were going to get after it, and then one RPG and boom, that's it. You don't know, and you don't know that you get hit by a car tomorrow. So I know that shit is shit that is talked about. People know that, but people don't think about it until it happens. Like this COVID crisis, as we're recording this in April of 2020, like you don't expect that. That's once in a lifetime, So that's it. It is once in a lifetime. It only happens once, and you don't expect that stuff. So.
Yeah, you know what I was just curious about before we get off Extortion 17, because it's just kind of running through my mind here, is the previous podcast that I used to be on. We interviewed Ed Darrick, who wrote a book about Extortion 17 and Operation Red Wings. And I know, according to him, there's a lot of stuff in the story that most people know that he claims is not how it went down. Do you have any discrepancies over, the version most people know of Operation Red Wings or Extortion 17?
I can't speak for Red Wings, but on 17, I read an article and I saw something, and it might have been from the person you speak of, but there was this list or this paragraphs of what was said and what would happen or what had happened, really. And I remember there being small discrepancies, but nothing crazy. And unfortunately, I don't have anything solid to give you right now, but what I can say, generally speaking, what I noticed from not just this instance in time, but just deploying, things that happen overseas are very rarely what they get reported in mainstream media. And I think, you guys, I don't need to tell you, but I think, and that could be maybe more obvious now, but I think that happens domestically too, right? Like right here within the States, like shit happens down on the street, and they're like, oh, this is what happened, let's boost up those ratings a little bit, and that's legitimately what happens. So I can't speak towards the specific of 17, but what I can say is that more than likely there are probably some parts that are maybe a little off, but I do remember there wasn't anything drastic when I initially read that article that I had read saying that there was a lot of BS in there.
And that, having to go through something like that, and it's where I count my blessings, is that I was able to go through something traumatic, which is relatively similar to, well, obviously it is when I was older, later in life, after I'd already got out of my shithead phase, and now I was into my more older. I'm a little bit wiser, but I'm still a little bit of an arrogant asshole phase. I haven't reached the where my wife has kept me level now, where I'm the good time. But we talked about that a little bit. It's like, that's tough at an age that you are, and you're having to grow up quick. Where and again, believe me, if we're comparing the two, Benghazi and Extortion, I was down later in life, so it was like I'd already seen people die. I'd already I've seen collateral damage. I'd had buddies die already. So when that happened, it was easier for me to when I picked up Roan's head, and it was mush. And you know, it was okay, and it wasn't a bad thing. It was just mentally I could focus. What's the job I got to do? I was able, because of the other stuff I'd been through that okay, this is how I'm going to get through it. So for you to have to learn at that point, man, that says something. That's some testal fortitude, overcoming adversity. Like we all talked about. You can say cliches all day, because I think cliches are. That's why they're cliches. They're freaking right, especially military, with the military cliches. But you're right, man, and people should learn from that, and it puts things in perspective again. Of how bad things can get, and then guess what? You can't quit. It's shitty. Yep. But you still got to move on and complete the mission. You don't have time to take a knee, face out, and drink water. Get your ass up, and you got to go. You got to go clean up, and that's something that you were forced to do. And you know, you came out of it all right. I think there's guys that had to handle certain things, similar things that you did, that at the age that you were at, that are still having issues with it. If you could tell them anything, and I know I get these questions too, so I know this is a question you've probably gotten on a lot of other shows as well, but I want people to hear this, because you're going to help somebody today. I guarantee you. If you could help anybody that's still going through a traumatic experience that happened at a younger age, and they're still fighting those demons, because you can speak on that easier than I can, brother, because I was older. What would you say to them? How have you continued to how can you motivate them, and how can you tell them, hey, it's going to be okay? Yes. And be honest with them too, because you just said it. It's never going to go away, but I can handle it. And this is how I can handle it. This might work for you.
Yeah. Well, you're right. It's never going to go away. And it might not be okay if you don't do something about it, right? Like, let's not sugarcoat it. Like, it can eat you up. Like, PTSD or whatever it is, it can eat you up. It can destroy you. And people take their lives because of this stuff, because they can't deal with it. People come back all the time, and veteran suicide is still a very real thing, because, you know, I don't know anybody personally that has taken that path, but we are all very we know that's a real thing, right? So I would say you can't just sit around, and I'm not going to be the guy that tells you what you want to hear, like, to whoever's listening. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, because that's the friend that I would want. And what I would tell you right now is, if you are struggling with whatever it is, and you don't have to be in the military, right? PTSD affects people all over the spectrum, but you can't just sit there and do nothing about it. Like, I was talking to a woman last night. Like, you can't expect to have PTSD and get over or understand how to cope with it if you don't take steps forward. So you have to work towards like so short and sweet would be, do something about it. And it may sound easier to say that, like me, right? But I know that, like I was saying about support groups, right? We had support groups. We talk to people. I still talk to people, and we check in on each other. So if you don't have a support group, there are plenty of professionals out there that are really good at their job and genuinely want to help you. But it comes back down to another cliche: ask for help. But you do have to do something about it, man. You really have to.
Do you think you need to talk to other guys who've experienced the same thing? Because we actually mentioned this last episode.
Jim West, Jim and Jack.
Yeah. So, I'm a guy who is not in this whole community, but I think for some guys to seek professional help and go to a therapist, they can't relate to your extortion 1-7 story. Only someone like Chris could relate to that story.
You know, and I have told a therapist it once, and it was just like, you know, like, so that resonates. I will say, two people, or in this case, a plethora of people, can experience something, and they can have completely different reactions and carry it different ways. I think we all know that. However, I do know specifically that the group that we formed when we came back, the years coming after that, were just us. Not everybody that was even forward deployed. Not everybody that was in country. Not everybody. It was those guys. And only we knew that because we were all staring at that ISR. We all, you know, all those details. We all experienced carrying their bodies. And the boots that are hanging up behind me right now that I do the ruck every year on the 6th of August, those boots are covered in blood, are still behind me. I mean, that these type of things that, yes, you're right. That's such a great point, because it's just, you can't really truly comprehend the gravity of a situation unless you're there. Like, you can watch war movies all day, right? Sweet. Yeah. I'm on my couch. But if you're there and you hear bullets whizzing by you, the first time I heard an RPG pass by my head, like, are you kidding? Like, totally different, right? So, yeah, that's a great point, and I'm glad you bring it up. But I think I bring up the professionals because I think I was scared about going to professionals at one point in my life, and I want to encourage that. And if you don't have anybody that experienced, maybe you were a victim of a sexual assault. Nobody else experienced that specific occasion with you, maybe. But at least starting, right? Start the path. Start working on it. Start working on yourself, and at least get it out. Get out your experience and look for help. And from my experience, when you start that process, even if it's with somebody else that didn't experience it with you, you start the process of recovery, and you at least now know that this person can't help me, right? So it's just a lot of things in life. Like, you don't, we're throwing around cliches a lot, guys. You don't win or, you don't win or lose. You win or learn if you choose to learn from that loss or failure. So if you go and you speak to a professional and it doesn't work, and you're like, that dude or that chick cannot relate to me at all, and that sucked, and I feel worse, then at least now you know that doesn't work for you. But if you keep on moving forward and you're relentless in wanting to be better and heal, then you're going to find that. Because with that example, sexual assault, there is somebody that's experienced something similar and understands it to a certain degree. They weren't there with you, but they understand it, they get it, and they can help you. And furthermore, they can help guide you and be that mentor within that thing that you experience. So you just got to move forward, guys.
Move forward. Say, move forward, never quit, be relentless. I got T-shirts coming out galore.
Yeah.
But it's that simple. When I do this, I speak to corporations. It's still so cathartic for me to speak to corporations to get it out sometimes. But I always say that, I tell this first thing. It's like, I'm not going to tell you anything that you didn't hear when you were 5. I'm not going to say anything that you didn't hear about. When you fall off that horse, get up, get back on it, keep riding. That's what my dad used to say. Keep moving forward. When you fall down, skin your knee, get back up and keep running. It's the same thing. And that's people they want this some big use the force answer from Yoda. No. I mean, I can flip it around so it sounds like Yoda. Force, use it that you should do. I could say, is that Yoda? Does that sound like? But it's still the same thing, and that's what you're telling people. And it's just it. Keep moving forward. If you find somebody you don't like or it's not working, doesn't mean to quit. Find somebody else. Fucking redirect. Go around that obstacle, but keep going forward.
Yeah, don't give up. You're right. If you really want, I'm the kind of guy, like I said, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, and I'm going to just tell you, because I would tell myself, and I tell myself every single day, like, dude, if you really want to do this, you're going to find a way. The how is never a problem. There is a way. And one of the things I learned at command, one of my, the guys that I work for was like, dude, we can figure, we develop shit. Like, this stuff doesn't exist. So either we don't have the time, the money, or, we just haven't spent enough time thinking about how to do it, and we don't have enough money to do it. But there is a way to be able to figure out how to do something. So in your own life, I firmly believe that there is a way to do things. And I do agree with you, Chris. It's that simple. But what happens is, as we grow up and as we go through these experiences, we harden up a little bit and we overcomplicate this stuff in our head, right? And we just think it's too hard, and we think that's what sometimes we think too much, man. We think too much and we get in our own way. You know what I'm saying? And if we just take a step back and we take a couple breaths and we really think about what's going, and we try to, as objectively as possible, be that rational individual and really just think about what's going on and try to make that best decision for ourselves, we're going to make a little bit of a better decision. But if we continuously do that, we apply consistency to our lives in that manner, and we try not to overcomplicate things, we find that they're not always that complicated.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that whole, another cliche saying, but that paralysis by analysis, which I've heard before.
This is all real stuff.
Yeah, there was a great motivational speech by the Ultimate Warrior. Rest in peace to that guy, but he always gave those intense rants. But I remember there was one I watched on YouTube that I thought was great. All his motivational speeches were great, but where he said, no matter how many self-help books you read, no matter how many speeches you listen to from Tony Robbins, when you get through the principles, when you get through whatever rules that they have, whatever ideas, it all comes down to do the fucking work. You got to do the fucking work on yourself. And that's what every single one of these things always boils down to. You can read as much about it as you want, listen to as much of it as you want, but until you are willing to get down there and dig deep inside and, you know, put that work in yourself, that's really what needs to go down, because only you could fix you when it comes to that.
Yeah, taking action is all that matters. So that's one of the things I say all the time on my podcast. I wrap up a lot of my podcasts with that for the solo podcast section that I have. And it's like, I always say, you can listen to all the best advice, read all the listen to all the best podcasts, read all the books, and it doesn't mean anything unless you don't apply it. So you have to apply it. Like, it's so cool. Okay, great. You feel better because you listen to a podcast. You feel better because you read an awesome book. And like you said, there's a lot of redundancy in the self-help community, and that's okay. You can read it. There's different ways to do it, but if you don't apply anything from it, like, what does it ultimately mean? Like, I would just hate that I spend 7 days a week on podcasting and somebody's listening to it and not applying it. I would just die inside. So please apply this shit, you know, like I just want people to apply it, because it is that analysis paralysis, and you just read another book and I think I'm going to do better, and I think I'm going to do better, but you're always thinking again. There you go. Thinking too much again and not applying.
That's why I do so well in things. I don't have that problem with thinking.
Exactly. I knew it.
Like, I just do it. Think about it late. That's what my wife always says. Do you even think about what you're doing? No, not really.
But it's a strength.
I may have to work a little bit hard, but I'm still moving forward. It just took me a little bit longer than it probably should have.
You got there though, right? You're doing it. That's what matters.
I would rather have somebody, you know, that doesn't overanalyze and just, okay, let's go get it done. Well, did you get it done? Yeah, it took you a neck, but you got it done. Heck yeah, you're moving forward.
Yeah.
That's perfect. We've as a country, we've become soft in that way, and I honestly believe that we do. We overanalyze, but then we start to use it as an excuse to procrastinate. Then we use it as an excuse to give up. Like that we do, and that's our fast food, Netflix, triggered, you know, whatever new hashtag is out there right now. That's our mentality in the U.S. And we need, again, we need to get away from that. This, again, with this hobovoba, libbity bibbity virus, Michelob, whatever it's called, we have the opportunity to improve. We have the I got so many names for it, but we have the opportunity to improve ourselves by that, and utilizing this break as a way to get the initiative back in our lives, and having that initiative. When I say that initiative, I mean having the ability to take the advantage. When I say initiative from the military standpoint, that means that we have the advantage and we keep the advantage. So we're always moving forward. We're always ahead of the game, where everybody can do that in their lives right now. Get that initiative back. So right now we're hitting an obstacle. We're like at a starting point, and you can do one of two things. You can turn that car off and not do anything to improve yourself, not do anything, and just let this thing end, and then slowly start to creep forward and start that car and then start driving off. Or you can just be getting prepared, working out, reading books, eating healthy, you know, doing things to better your life, which means putting your foot on that gas pedal and revving that thing up. So when that green light hits and the Michelob hobovirus is done and everybody can go out and start doing things again, you just tick off from that light, and you're just off running. Yeah. That's where everybody should be right now. I am, and I hurt my back doing it, but I'll recover from that. But that's how we can be. We can always be that way. And this is the opportunity for people to get that way. And you had to do it, and you all did it on the worst, probably one of the worst days of your life. You figured that out because you were forced to figure that out when you picked up your friend, when you picked up the body parts. And I'm being perfectly blunt with you too, because I've had to do the same thing, brother. I know it's hard for you to hear. It's hard for me to hear when people tell me that, but I'm saying it as that you did it, and you were forced to do it under the worst situation. God dang it. You know what? That person out there right now that's having a great day out in the sun, they can do it under controls environment with the ability and the advantages all in the world, where they aren't forced to do it. So I think you're an inspiration to everybody out there, man, and you're an inspiration to me. Even though you're Navy, and Navy, and you work with the SEALs, I'll let that go. We razz each other
more.
But that means a lot. That's huge, and people should listen to your podcast to hear those things and hear what you have to say. And honestly, your story, I can tell in your voice, it's hard for you to talk about. I get it. That's why I never force anybody, because it's hard for me to talk about it. And sometimes I don't want to talk about what things happen, but it is inspirational. So I want you to know that on a positive side, every time you say something and people hear that in your voice, how it affects you. Yeah, it's hard on you. I know it takes away a little bit of your life when you talk about it, because it takes away a little bit of my life whenever I have to remember something like that. But in the end, you are helping somebody. I guarantee you help somebody out there that's listening to this podcast. So I appreciate you nutting up and sucking up and doing that for us. So, man, really appreciate that, bro.
No, that means a lot to me. Like I was saying in the very beginning, like you forget sometimes the impact you can have by making your story public, right?
Yeah.
And that's like part of my thing. Like when I wanted you on, because I was like, all right, so obviously a lot of people know what happened with you, but why not continue to share that story? And that's always been my mission with my platform, is to share those stories, because we all do have a story to tell. Like I would guarantee, I would go as far as to say is that everybody listening has some kind of story. So a lot of people have a lot less resistance than others. A lot of people have it a lot worse than others, and I get it, and especially in this country, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that either. Like having gone forward and being some really crappy, dark places, they live terribly. We have it awesome. Like people complaining about washing their hands right now too much with, I'm sorry, clean drinking water. It's just like, it doesn't register, man. It doesn't register. So I appreciate when you say that kind of stuff, because even me, like, I'll be honest with you guys, it's barely coming out in my podcast, but I've been going through struggles my own right now, like this week, and I had to cut the frequency of the episodes back a little bit more so I could focus on my mental health a little bit more, because I felt as if I was just focusing on everybody, right? And I was using my podcast, as you're talking about distractions, I was using my own podcast as a distraction from my own mental well-being by helping other people. So I was deflecting my lack thereof purpose by helping other people find their purpose. And I just realized that last week through a mentor call. And man, I just got to change things up right now. But I'm continuing the podcast, so it's still going.
That's good, man. Does it have anything to do with the COVID-19 stuff? Because I can tell you, for me, I mean, I've been honest about it on the podcast with Chris. I do find myself to be a pretty positive guy. I wasn't always that way. And this set me back a little bit, just when your routine changes. And I think it's just in the past week that I've realized, all right, I can't do my workouts in the gym right now. I one time ran a half marathon years ago. You know what? I'm going to get back into running a little bit more. I'm going to change up my goals. I'm going to find some type of different work that I could do right now outside of the podcast. And now we're increasing the show to doing twice a week, and just having a set schedule. Because I just know for me, when I start waking up literally like noon every day, and then, you know, playing video games and watching Netflix, it sets me back to bad habits. It brings me back to the Ian Scotto that I'd rather not be, and not the guy that I've developed all these good habits from. So, yeah, is it a result of this at all, or just outside stuff going on?
No, so it's a lot of things. It's not that. I will say, I just told somebody this today. My morning routine, my schedule is better than it's ever been. I actually had an injury where I couldn't work out for like 7 or 8 months last week as a result of something in the Navy, and I was in a dark place because of that. Not only were my muscles atrophying, but my mind was atrophying because of that. Yeah. So when you say, you know, I'm getting up at 12 and I had bad habits, like, dude, I know how crappy it can be. But I also do know that when you put a little bit of scheduling in your life, the more scheduling that I have, the more freedom I have. It sounds counter to that, but the more I'm tough on myself and the more habits, the good habits that I form, create the consistency, create the momentum, the better I feel. And dude, my morning schedule right now,
I couldn't agree more with that,
is rock solid. So I didn't cut the podcast back because of that. It's just, I had somebody, it was a guest on the podcast, and he spent like 30 minutes post-recording talking to me. One of his self-help books is my favorite self-help book, and I talked to him, and he asked me some questions about my life, and I have general answers to him, but I couldn't answer anything specifically. He's like, dude, you don't know what the fuck you want to do, really, and you're just helping other people, and you're deflecting, kind of like I was saying earlier. and you don't have enough time to do what you want to do because you're just doing everything by yourself for everybody else. So yeah, man. And to go on to your other point about like morning routines and everything, and you just who do you want to be? Like, if you want to be that guy that gets up at 12 or whatever the example is, then so be it. But if you want to be somebody else, if you want to be that guy that gets up earlier, then just do it.
Absolutely.
You're gonna, like I was saying earlier, you got to find a way, and there's people that are gonna help you find that way too.
With your talking about you need to find yourself, brother. I believe me, you do. Ian can see when I imploded. When I imploded and I was helping everybody else and I wasn't helping myself, and it really does. You do. People, you're selfish. Don't you? You worry about everybody else's problems, and it really affects your head. At least you recognized it, and that's awesome. And people that you're going to offend some people by pulling back. So what? You got to take care of yourself. You just can't be that person that's giving, because if you're not right in your head, you're going to go down a slippery slope, and it doesn't end well for you. So I'm glad you recognize it, man. And you're right on. And you do. And people need to realize that you can't answer everybody. When I don't answer a lot of DMs anymore, and people get pissed off. Like, well, I'm not sorry. I got a family. No, you just can't please everybody. But you're still helping people that really are that need to be helped, that aren't looking just to get that gratification by you reaching out to them because brother, I'm glad you realize that. I'm glad you're seeing it. I'm glad you're fixing it, and understand that never in your life, and this is coming from me, an old fart like myself, do that. Do what you can do, but don't go over and beyond, bend over backwards. That you have to make everyone happy, because it's not going to be possible, and it's okay, but you need to be happy. Because if you're not, then you're going to get to be 50 and you're going to be crusty old. No, I'm good. I'm in a good spot. But I figured it out.
I think everybody does go through that. I think Tony Robbins has bad days. Everybody. I think sometimes we think because we've made all these improvements in our life and we're in a better place that we're on like the last chapter of our book, and some type of chaos happens in your life and you fall back on bad habits. You have days that just don't go well, and I think like self-improvement, it's a never-ending thing. It never stops.
100% through and through. I want to be learning until the day I die, and I genuinely mean that. I mean, for me, like, how sad is that if there's a finite point to where I'm done learning or I'm done growing as an individual? Like, I don't want it to be 10 years down the road and I'm just done. What do I do after that? So it's good to realize that you're absolutely right. And I genuinely just felt as if I was pouring from an empty cup, essentially, right? And I just had to give. So I'm gonna still pour a little bit out, but you just gotta fill it up, man. We spend a lot of the time just filling it back up and working on that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you're right. Not everybody's gonna understand that, but that's fine, man. People that understand it are gonna understand it. Like the people that really care about what you're doing and understand you will get it. And for the people that don't, fine. It's good. It's going to happen.
Yeah. You know what I see it with, Chris, and I think you had this in your own life at a time where, you often talk about the people that I think it's good to stay up on what's going on in the world, but the people that get obsessed with politics, with every single move every politician is making, there's something not going right in their own life, I think, because I've talked about it before on the show. I think you have too, Chris. If you start working out, start making changes to your diet, you're going to see improvement no matter what. If you stick to a routine, there's going to be a positive change. However, you have no control over who's going to win the next election, over what changes politicians are going to make. And when you get obsessed with something that you have no control over, I mean, it leads down a bad path, I think.
Yeah. Well, I completely agree. I think an obsessive personality is good because, like you were saying, with the good habits, right? Like me, I've been working out. I haven't missed a day in 66 days because I got challenged to work out every single day. So I've been
even if you have like an injury, really?
Well, I had the injury and I couldn't work out for like 8 months. I couldn't even hold my baby daughter, who was like 8 pounds at the time when she was born. So coming out of that depression, I passed that. And well, that's another tangent because I couldn't work out, so I substituted reading. And Chris knows this. I read a book a week for a year. I just finished it on Sunday. I read a couple of Chris's books, and so I substituted out of that. I wasn't going to give in to not being able to work out and being depressed. Screw that. But when I started to able to work out again in October, dude, I was a shadow of my former self. Like everything I had worked for had been gone, and I was mentally drained too. But now it took till 2 months ago, after working out for 4 months, to be able to work out more than 2 or 3 times a week. And I'm still, even though I'm working out every day, I do not have the level of intensity that I used to have, but I'm getting there. And my morning routine, my morning routine's still better because I have meditation, gratitude, and I read from a Stoic reading book every single day. So those are 3 other things that I'm actually, majority is taking care of my brain as well, right? In the morning. And I wasn't doing that before. So without the injury, without the reset, without pulling the arrow back a little bit, now I'm able to shoot farther because I crushed the reading. I'm able to have the gratitude, meditation, stoicism, all of these things. And now I can work out again. So now I've pulled all of that thing, all of those things into this momentum. And I'm just so excited because it was such a dark place for a while of not being able to do anything. And now I have all these other tools under my belt and I'm able to do it. And pretty soon I'll be back to that 100%. But it's feasible to do something every day. You just got to find what works and listen to your body.
Yeah, and it goes right back. You had that foot on the gas pedal, revving, ready to go.
Well, Chris, I need the momentum, man. Yeah. I need mentally. I need the momentum. I need the consistency, and I have the obsessive personality where if I break that streak, I will fuck myself up so bad in my head, it will be way worse than not doing anything. So thankfully, I haven't been sick for those 66 days, and I haven't had an injury, but my neck is terrible. It still hurts, but I'm able to do it, So I need the momentum. Even if it's like I'll go on a walk with my family and I'll wear my rucksack, so I'll get a good ruck in, for a couple hours or something, and just doing something and staying true to yourself. We talked about who do you want to be? We were talking about setting schedules, bad habits, good habits. Who do you want to be? I want to be that guy that doesn't give up on himself anymore. Right. So I'm going to combine all the things that I've been building up for the last year, and I'm just going to continue that momentum. And I know with that momentum and that consistency that comes from that, or the consistency builds a momentum, that I'm just going to be in a lot better place. And then speaking about pouring from an empty cup, I'm going to be able to, as a result of that, take care of and help more people like I really have a true passion for.
That's experience. I always listen to somebody that's been through, is telling me how to improve by their own experience than somebody who's just telling me how to improve because I saw it on Google. And you can tell the difference. So somebody that's failed miserably or has been down those holes and have come out of it, that's who I want to listen to, because I believe that's because I'm going to relate to, because honestly I have failed miserably so many times on things, but I always just continue to pick yourself up and keep moving forward and try to better myself. And I do say try, but I don't say try. No, I am trying. I'm trying, and I'm continue to try because I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to quit on myself. So I'm going to continue to try and try to improve, because you're right. I'm going to be 90. I'm still going to be trying to improve because I'm never going to reach that pinnacle, and that's fine, whatever pinnacle that is. It's always setting those goals forward. But there's going to be a time too where I'm 90, be like, okay, I am going to try a little, but not as much as I used to. I think I'm just going to try to have a well-formed shit today. That's what my goal is today, because I'm 90 years old, but it's still a goal. Again, I'm going to have that sense of humor always till I'm 90, that terrible sense of humor that nobody gets, and how my wife just tolerates. But you're right. I know I'm trying not to make a joke light of the situation, but I am too. But it makes sense that what you're saying, dude, is that you just continue to move forward and you keep working. It's that simple. Just continue to move forward, no matter how awful it gets. Just continue to move forward, even if it's baby steps. And I don't know, you said it, and you hit the nail on the head as usual. So no, bro, no worry. I
and that's what works for me, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I've interviewed 155 people now, and I know it's different for everybody. So somebody's listening to me, they're like, "Oh, that's such a bullshit 66," or whatever it is. I don't know. There's always somebody out there, which is fine. And if you really want to get this shit together, then you're going to look past your own shit and you're going to find what works for you. And you're going to understand you could pick things from me, you could pick things from Chris, you could pick things from Ian, you could pick things from whoever you want, bits and pieces, left and right, and you can build up your own story and crush that. But what works for me, doing my morning routine, is not going to work for you. Maybe, but it probably won't. And I'm not saying it is, but I'm going to say, again, with that whole PTSD bit that we were talking about earlier, that you need that forward progression that we keep on touching back on. You need to be able to pushing forward if you subscribe to the growth mindset, and if you subscribe to being better just for you and for the damn world, honestly, because we need more of it. And you just need to move forward, and you're going to be all right. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it. Don't overcomplicate it, like we're saying.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes is Bruce Lee: absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own. I try to take that with everything. And I'll echo a lot of what Chris said there too, and of the genuity of what you do, of just being yourself, because one of the things I've noticed definitely in recent years with Instagram and Twitter is that, like, self-improvement and positive mindset, it's become this really trendy thing that everybody is a part of and everybody's posting about. But I think a lot of the people are full of it, and you could tell who really puts this stuff into their life every day, who's really doing the work. And I think someone like you saying, hey, recently I had a little bit of a setback and I'm changing up my routine. I'm changing up what I'm doing every day to get back to the mindset that I need to be at. Those are the people that are real. The people that'll tell you every single day that they're crushing it and they're killing it. Nobody's crushing it and killing it every day. So those people are full of shit.
No, and you're right. And we live in the information age, obviously, and we've said a bunch of things that definitely coincide with this. And I know, as working in IT, that this is most definitely the thing. But you're right. It's really trendy. It's really fatty. But there's a lot of good out there. There's a lot of genuine people that really want to help. But it's like, how do you find those people? How do you tell if they're bullshitting or not, or all of these things? So now these new skills that are having to be created are you have to sift and refine the information that you're taking. You need to have a really good filter, that BS filter, right? You need to have a really good filter to be able to figure out who you're going to follow. I guess if we're talking about Instagram or something like that, what information are you going to subscribe to? You got to be really careful about that stuff, because you're right. There's a lot of people out there with an agenda.
100%, man. So for all you listening out there, definitely check out Kristof's Instagram, which he posts a lot of this stuff. Check out the podcast. It's at Kristof Lewis on Instagram, KRISTOF LEWIS. Very active on Instagram, has a great page on there, great podcast. Anything else you want to add, Chris, before we wrap this up? I mean, I think we've covered a lot of different things that people are going to take into their everyday life and use.
This is which Chris is it?
You? Yeah,
Chris?
Sure.
Oh, is it the old Chris? Say the old Chris, not the young, good-looking Chris, the old, ugly Chris. No, bro. No, Chris hit it right on the head. I still like Kristof, man. It just sounds so cool. Kristof. No, what he said is, and I think that's why doing the podcast, we really have the same mindset of, hey, just continue to move forward, man. It's not that hard. Just find a way. And him and I, the same thing. Both have bad days. We've gone through hell. We're going to continue to go through hell at some points in time. And then we're going to have outstanding days too, just like everybody else. The trick is, you just don't stop. You just continue to move forward. Figure out a way to get through whatever you're going through. And then once you are through whatever that is, enjoy the day, enjoy the sun, enjoy the trees, enjoy holding your 8-year-old, my 4-year-old, enjoy, just enjoy the day. Find every day and make the best out of it. And I think what people get out of this podcast, this episode, is that cliches are okay. Cliches are cliches are just fine, and they are accurate. So
that's right.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate it. You did awesome, man.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's more than an honor to come on and be able to talk about this stuff. Like I do on podcasts, but they don't always talk about the things that we talked about today. And through all this stuff, I mean, we just need to realize, like, the adversity that we go through, like, my struggle is my blessing. And you know what? It's not always going to be easy, but that's why most people aren't doing it. That's why most people aren't achieving their version of success. That's why most people don't have a morning routine. That's why most people don't have a night routine, or know that a night routine helps your morning routine. You set yourself up for success, all of those other things. So your struggle is your blessing. Embrace the resistance and keep moving forward. And thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much. This
brother.
was great. That was an interesting one. Loved speaking with him, and I think a lot of what he said I'm going to take into my own life. And the whole, his whole struggle being his blessing thing, I could completely relate. And some of the most inspiring stuff in my life I take from when other people had downfalls. I think stuff in your books people take that out of. I've been reading David Goggins. He writes a lot about that. As you guys know, I'm a huge rock fan and nerd of the whole genre. And I've read Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue and the stuff he's written about overdosing on heroin and then doing heroin again. And the crazy thing is that inspired him to not only get clean, but little do people know that was after the Girls, Girls, Girls album. And people felt like Motley Crue, all right, they had 2 or 3 big albums. They're done. They're not going to have anything big after this. And he was determined to prove those people wrong, put out Dr. Feelgood, which is the most memorable album of their career. That overdose inspired the song Kickstart My Heart. And when I read about all these types of things, every single person that I love in life and I admire, I don't ever like to say idol or anything, because I don't think you should make anybody an idol or worship false idols for that means. But the people that I take something out of their story, they have all gone through crap. I remember Joe Rogan saying, I love a good success story, but you know what I like a lot more? I like a guy who fucks his entire life up story and then picks it back up and really gets his shit together. Those, as he said, and I'm totally plagiarizing what he said, but those are my favorite stories.
Well, that's really, in essence, when we wrote The Ranger Way, that's all that was. When I wrote that second book, it was what did I fail at? That's where people need to work, because there was, at that time, there were so many books out of the war books of how cool of a killer I was. Oh man, let's I wonder with this, and ops are cool. Believe me, there they are. What op did I do? How did I get the Taliban down? How did I do?
How many confirmed kills?
How many confirmed kills? It was like the first.
Which isn't a real thing, right? Confirmed kill is not a real thing, from what
I don't know how you can do. I don't know how you can do that. I mean, it may be. Who knows? Dude, I don't think so. I think the first kid on my block with a confirmed kill. But it was when Hachette came, I was like, I just want to write a book of how screwed up I am, and they were like, yeah, okay, sounds good. And then that's what it was. And because I'm the same way, it's like, I want to read a good book to be entertained. I love the old war books from Vietnam because I thought they were the coolest thing in the world. Charlie Ranger's one of the best books I ever read. But I didn't really take anything away from as far as I didn't take as much away from learning a book, somebody that just succeed. I needed to know what had happened first. They had to have failed some point in their life. How did they learn from that failure? And that's from my dad and my mom too. Hey son, you fail. Yeah, pick up. Let's try again. And you try again, and you try again, and you figure it out till you don't fail anymore. And then I got this down. That's how we become wise. And so no, I believe that immensely. You got to learn how to fail to be successful. And I've been saying that since we came out with 13 Hours. So when I started talking, because with me, I'm not afraid to tell you, I'm a screw up, huge screw up. My wife will tell you. You want anybody to talk about how screw up I am? Talk to my mom and my wife; they'll tell you. But like I say, but Tanya even said it during our episode, which it actually touched my heart. Tanya, my wife, she said it during our episode. She goes, he never quits. He always will continue to till he gets it. And that is, to me, that's somebody that's successful. Money and all that, I don't care what you're successful. You don't have to have a ton of money. I was worse. I felt like less of a person when I was making a ton of money than, because I wasn't myself. I wasn't. Then when I just, okay, this is what I need to be happy. And making money actually was a failure. That was a fail part of my life, because I was probably in the worst state of mind in my life was when I was making the most financially. Then when I was like, okay, I that's not important to me. I'm making that too much important. My need to be over here. I failed here. This is what I need to do to fix that. And I did my little AAR and I fixed it. So I'm completely right. And the people you mentioned, their stories, Nikki Six. I know I haven't read the books, but I know the story because I love Motley Crue. But yeah, he's
huge
spot
fan.
on. I mean, hey, that's another one. He screwed up a lot, and then he screwed up again, knowing that he was going to screw up to come out of it. And that's all. But it's again cliche, but it's spot on. That's
I know
spot on.
for a fact, man, that your book, along with like Leif Babbitt and Jocko
Yeah.
Willink's book, which is about
Yeah,
their failures,
yeah,
inspired
Jocko.
other
Yep.
books. Jack said himself that it inspired his book, Jack Murphy, when he was on, because a lot of guys in the community said, I don't want to write a book about how badass I am and what combat deployments I've seen. I kind of want to write an honest book about the failures I've had. And you know, someone like Jim West, who we had on last episode, he's written about that stuff. And I think people I think people just see through the bullshit, really, of when people write just the positive, look how great I am. There's always something behind that.
You're right, bro. People can see through the machismo. They can see through the alpha maleness, which is alpha male. Honestly, to me, is a contradiction in words, right there. To me, I think alpha males are probably the most insecure individuals out there, and I'm one. But that's why you did it, and I'm glad. I hope and Jocko. I've never met him personally, but him and I believe, you know, I know his story. And again, he's a tremendous public speaker as well. My same mindset. It's just, hey, we screw up. We screw up a lot. How do you learn from those screw ups? And that's important. So when Jack said that to me, that made me feel really good, and especially being from the community, and from the regiment too, because it's scary going out there initially. When I first Ranger away, it's like, all right, I'm going to tell people how screwed up I am. What's going to happen?
Yes.
You don't want to tell people how your faults, but I think there's a strength in that too. Okay, well, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be me. I'm going to tell whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you.
I remember on Jack's Instagram when I had an advanced copy of the book, someone wrote a comment that said, and it was like a sarcastic comment of, "Oh, I wonder if you're going to talk about, you shooting someone in friendly fire in this book, like LOL." And little did they know, I had an advanced copy of the book. Sure as hell, he does talk about it.
Yeah, and that's hard to get through. I think that's therapeutic, but it's also, again, hey man, having strength, showing how we failed, and then what happened after that. That helps people. That helped me growing up, watching failure, watching people not succeed at everything. And it honestly makes you stronger. To me personally, it made me stronger. And it also, I understand too, when I make a mistake at this age now, even though I still make mistakes, a lot of them, I can know how to fix it. I know what to do now to first of all, try not to make that mistake, but sometimes it happens. But once I do, okay, what do I need to do to fix this mistake so it doesn't happen again? And like when you're younger, you're going to continually make the same mistakes just because you're younger. You don't know any better. You know, you put your hand in the fire so many times, so you're like, oh, that burns. I better not do that anymore. And you don't do it anymore. Now I just need to put it in once. Like, oh shit, that hurts. That was stupid. Okay, don't do that again. But it comes down to that, the failures and learning from the failures. And we kind of went in full circle from the beginning of the show. We talked about urbanization and the COVID and everything. What failures did we learn? What are our leaders that have so much arrogance, so much bad pride? There's good pride and bad pride. Pride, are they going to put that aside and learn and say, what the hell did we do wrong? Or are we just going to go and talk bad about political candidates to go into the election and tell how everybody else is so screwed up? And that's how we're going to, going into this next election, which honestly, I foresee that happening where it shouldn't. It should be politicians and our leaders coming back and what did we do to screw up? How did we screw this up? What can we do to fix it? And so it never happens again. I don't know, brother. Maybe they need to read Jocko's Minds and Jack's and Kristof's books and figure this shit out. But I don't know, brother. You're more optimistic with politicians, I think, than I am. I don't know. Maybe not. I
don't know. I mean, I'm definitely. I think we're in a pretty similar boat with that stuff. You know what I wanted to ask you about before we wrap things up here, because I wrote it down and kind of wanted to hear your take.
Sure.
So things may have changed by the time this goes up, because this is going up on Monday. We're recording this right now on Wednesday. And by the way, we're also going to have a show up on Friday, because we're doing the 2 shows a week now. We're going to record twice a week, have a show up Monday and Friday. But point being, last week, early on in the week, I believe, CNN reported that Kim Jong-un they had a report. They didn't say this was fact, that he was reportedly dead, or they were possibly saying brain dead. Then South Korea was then saying that's not the case. Kim Jong-un is alive and well. And then there were reports, is his sister going to become the leader of North Korea? So, yeah, I don't know if you had any insight on that. I'm wondering if you think he's dead or not. I think, I mean, and then there's also people saying that he's in hiding because of COVID-19. If he is brain dead or something like that, they're probably keeping him in hiding. I think he possibly is dead. I'm going off of what some stuff that Gordon Chang said, who I believe to be an expert on Asia for sure. The guy's been right on many things before. I'm just wondering, and the surprising thing to me is, if he is dead or brain dead, I couldn't believe that there would be a female leader of North Korea. It'd be surprising to me.
Yeah, that would be. I don't know. I know you mentioned that last week. I didn't really do any due diligence on it to see, because to me, if he is, he is. If he's not, he's not. But for them to be hiding, yeah, he probably is. He probably is. And this is where I asked you, because you really are more in tune to that than I am. You really are, and that's not a bad thing. You really are. You know more about. I don't know why, if he is passed and why they wouldn't just, well, he's passed away. I know he's a huge leader. I know. I don't think it would. To me, to be honest with you, hiding it, I don't think if they came out with it and said he has passed away, it would create chaos in North Korea anymore. I mean, that's the iron hand. You're not going to get chaotic unless there's just a civil war within North Korea, which would never happen, because the military just would squash it, and they have no problems killing their own people. But brother, I don't know. I really don't know.
Do you think it might be trying to figure out who his successor is, whether it is his sister or?
Yeah, if so, but it would be hard to say. I couldn't see. Yeah, I can't see. I can't see, and there's gender discrimination in North Korea. All right, the hashtag Me Too doesn't work in North Korea, guys.
Yeah.
They don't play that game. I would be hard to see them to have a female successor. So maybe that's what they're trying to do to get it figured out. But it goes back to politicians. It goes back to politics and lying and misrepresentation. And yeah, bro, I just admit that he's dead. All right, go move on with the next step. But brother, I with you talking about last week, and then a little bit more information you telling me now, and just getting my layman gut reaction without watching the news out there, I would say, yeah, he's dead. And you are probably spot on with the analogy of they're just trying to find a successor because they don't want his sister to come in and be the successor. Honestly, I think they could probably use a lady's touch over there in North Korea, but I don't think it would be detrimental at all. I think that'd be a great move, and hopefully it would open some doors to maybe some negotiations, because there's no way you're going to negotiate with North Korea.
I mean, the closest that we've had is Trump. We never had anyone meet with the North Korean leader until now. Some people will tell you it did no good. Some people feel it did a lot of good.
I think just having an open conversation, you never know until you try. So it was not a negative to meet with Kim Jong-un, then not meet with him. If you're not going to meet with him, well, obviously there's never going to be a chance for success. If you meet with him and it was failure, well, at least you tried. I mean, you gave it a shot, but now you know this guy's batshit crazy. We don't need to meet with him ever again. But you didn't know that until then. So, yeah, I didn't see any problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, it does show a huge difference between, I just remember, and not much difference between Bush and Obama on this one, but I do always remember Bush had that strict foreign policy of we do not negotiate with terrorists. And that has not been the Trump foreign policy. He's willing to meet with other people.
It came from the 8 years under Obama too, where we negotiated with terrorists all the time, behind the scenes all the time. The country is just different now. Now you're right. Nothing's gone on since Trump. So I think we just figured out, well, probably not a good idea. Nothing's good's going to come out of it. Now with the new leader coming in, I bet there is some meeting that's set up with this new leader, whoever it's going to be, just to see what can happen. But North Korea, they're set in their ways, brother. They're set in their ways, and it goes to control and dictatorship and populace, and the if they have really a democracy, all those people up top will lose control. They'll lose money, and who knows? A lot of them probably would be strung up by the populace. So they have no reason to give that strength, give that power up. So I don't know, brother. It'd be something that we're talking about if the sister is elected as a leader, because I would like to see it. And you're right, David Chang, right? Gordon Chang. He was on David's show.
Yeah.
He was on David Betancourt's show. I've been on David's. I've been on it. David's awesome. I've been on his show. Was a great interview there. I did it in Dallas. Gordon. He's the one that's the expert there. I would listen to what he has to say about it. For those of y'all that want to get more into it, listen to Gordon Chang, get his views, because he can obviously speak eloquently on it. If you don't know who he is, he lived 20 plus years as an attorney in China. Wasn't that right? Am I off?
And now he's banned from the country. They will not let him in. Is himself Chinese? And I've met the guy plenty of times. So I should say, not I don't meet him every time. I've known the guy because he was a regular on Wilcow, and I trust his opinion on things. And he will tell you, China is, as a country, their leadership, they are not our friends. And the people themselves are who we should be standing up for. The people do not want to be under that iron fist. And to me, I think those protesters in Hong Kong, they're more patriotic than a lot of the, I guess you would say, social justice warriors you see running around in America. Those people are out there with American flags, singing, national anthem, and telling us what's going on in China. And they do have concentration camps over there. That's not conspiracy theory. And somehow we're saying that they're great people. And, there's been leaders like Michael Bloomberg, when he was running for president, saying they don't have a dictatorship over there. They listen to the people, and it's beyond me.
You got to.
I could pull up the clip, guys.
I had
said it
no
on
idea.
On PBS with Margaret Hoover.
What do you have to have your head so far up your 4-point of contact? Are you kidding me? How do you guys keep electing these people, dude? I don't get New York at all. Just ridiculous. Well, anyway, we'll save that for another episode. I won't get into that. But
it is crazy because what's crazy to me is, no matter your feelings on how Trump is handling this, and he's done a lot of stuff that I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about? He's done other things that I think are great. But I think if you're more angry at Donald Trump than the Communist Party of China, you got problems.
Then you're it's never going to be fixed. That's why you just turn off the news. You just can't. Even in headlines, we're still berating Trump. And I'm in total agreement. I think at the beginning, I think he handled things just shitty. The Twitter stuff, like, get off Twitter. That's not important right now. The country's important, not Twitter and fighting with people and people, idiots at CNN on Twitter. But then you're right. I think he's done things that were decent. Were presidential as well, that were necessary. Which the travel ban to China, that was excellent. Stop it right now. Boom. Don't do it anymore.
It's funny because you said that yourself back many episodes ago, where you were like, that's a good move, while people were still saying that was a bad move. And I know Nancy Pelosi is now saying it wasn't harsh enough, even though at the time she wasn't saying
she's
that.
like, I know. I'm like, gosh, why do people listen to politicians? But that's just, again, that's the common sense. Common sense, it's easy. Everybody's got it except politicians. They lose it. Everybody except politicians have common sense. But that's just common sense stuff. Stop it. Done. No more travel. In and out. There you go. Right. But anyway, I getting back to China, and I agree with you, bro. I completely agree. They are more patriotic, those protesters there. And you're right. I mean, our protesters here, when they protest, you may get tear gassed if it gets completely out of control. Bro, you get out of control there. You're getting run over with a tank. That's what's going to go on in China. So I agree.
And they're using that facial recognition technology to see if you're protesting.
Yep, and your family's going to pay for it too. It's like medieval days. They're going to go after you, or the mafia. They're going to go after you, and they're going to go after your family. So I admire that as well, and I admire the protesters there in China doing what they're doing at the. I don't know if it's still, bro. Again, I don't watch the news. I don't even know if it's still going on, but I know.
Well, I think COVID-19 has shut down everything.
Pretty much, yeah.
Protests, everything, political rallies. There are protests going on over shutdowns, which is, it's been really weird seeing that type of stuff. But yeah. Wrapping things up here, I do want to say, of course, that Fort Scott Munitions, who's been with us for every show, great manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition. It's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in all 50 states, as well as directly online through fortscottmunitions.com, FortScottmunitions.com. Go there now. Use the exclusive promo code Battleline for 15% off. And I really do say go there now because there's a lot of stuff that is flying off the shelf.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, that promo is only available to our listeners. What were you saying?
No, and you got to. You're exactly right. You got to get out there and get that stuff. And just to see what it looks like, guys, I will post photos with the Tunnels toolbox that, of course, you can get on kristoflewis.net that I have with Maximum Defense, and I'll be running that Fort Scott Munitions ammunition 300 blackout out of that toolbox. I'll post some videos on Battleline Tactical's Facebook page next week, so you can see if you're still should I go for it, should I not? Well, I'll have it in my shorty little tunnel toolbox. And I'll be shooting that 300 blackout out Fort Scott Munitions ammunition, and you can see it live on a video. Live is it? No, not a live on a video. You can see it on a. I'm on a roll today. You can see it on a video, and we'll post that next week. Just so again, you want to do your due diligence, and we want to make sure that we are giving you accurate information, which we are, and so you know that we believe in every product that we endorse on the Battleline Podcast.
Yeah, when you were saying live on video, I was thinking maybe a Facebook Live at the gun range.
I could do one. I do that. We do that too. That's fun too. We'll get a lot of that done. And I know we didn't have a read form at the end, but I do really want to push this out there. And I'm sorry, Ian, maybe just one last thing. The guys, again, athletes out there, and because it's been amazing, because when I have my back, when it goes out, it really goes out badly. I have been so happy with that Ned body butter stuff. Just give it a shot. If you're using icy hot and stuff like that for inflammation, dude, try that. And you don't smell like an old man. You don't smell like I look. You don't smell like that 50-year-old icy hot guy. So get that Ned body butter. And the CBD oil speaks for itself. That's just sure. Yep. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, no, that stuff is great. So once again, for if you're checking that out, that is helloned.com/battleline. And once again, just to wrap up with Fort Scott here, Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. And you know what? I am currently wearing my Battleline Podcast shirt. It just came in the mail. I'm wearing the red one. I got the red and the green. I saw Audacious Andy as the black. We also have them in gray. They look awesome. American flag on the sleeve. These were designed by Aaron Lauder, who did the design of the logo, did all the stuff that you've seen of the imaging is really Aaron Lauder. He does an awesome job. So check those out. It's at tonto-apparel.myshopify.com. And I'm going to put the link in the description here. You guys are going to dig these shirts. The quality is great. They're awesome. Awesome design, once again, by Aaron. It's really simple and to the point, and I've been wearing this all day. I'm probably going to wear the green tomorrow. And and there's a ton of other great shirts there too of Chris's personal designs, Battleline Tactical stuff. And I think the episode that's going up Friday, if all it goes according to plan, will be by far our biggest guest to ever join us on the podcast. Very excited for it.
Who is it, man? Who is it? Who is it? Oh wait, I did hear the tone. Yeah, and without knocking on wood here, and this is one gentleman that was when the book came out and Oz and I and Tig were actually doing book signings together, it was right at the beginning of 13 Hours when Mitch Zukoff and myself, Boone, Jack Silva, Oz and Tig wrote 13 Hours, What Really Happened in Ghazi. This gentleman was the nicest guy to us. We met him at SHOT Show, and I have the utmost respect for him, and I still do. I think he's, and Damn Yankees, one of the best rock bands. I mean,
Did you just give away who it is?
Oh my gosh, I did. I'm gonna tell you right now. Should I say it now, or should I not?
Here's the thing. I'm always just on alert for someone to be
okay,
like,
all right. I did. No. I didn't do it. I didn't say. I'm not gonna say who it is. That's all I'm gonna give out. But that was like another one of those where, you know, Ian is I love music. Ian knows music. There's a difference. I love music. Ian loves and knows music. But that was one of the first super bands right there. With you get the guy, you get the guy, and then you get the other guy that was with Styx, and you get the guys that were why am I drawing a blank? The singer, he sang for, oh shit, brother.
I'd actually have to look. I don't remember. I know it's a member of Styx.
It's one of the big eight.
The other guy.
Yeah, it's one of the, but I'm not going to give the names out with the other guys.
This is the most easy hint ever of who we're.
It's all right. And if you
trying
can't
to have on next week, so,
if you can't, but we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to give out any more. Okay, Ian, don't get it. Let's just keep it at that right there.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, once again, I've really been enjoying these, and I hope you guys are too. And I think with all that's going on, just these podcasts, letting everybody know we're all in this together. I think it's helping some people out, just as it is for me listening to, like I mentioned the other day or on the other show, Eddie Trunk. He's doing those cool top 5 lists. The latest one is top 5 drummers. I've been enjoying those. All different shows I've been enjoying. I really liked some of the recent Joe Rogan stuff. Joe Rogan with Tom Green was a really great show.
Wait, Tom Green? I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. He did an episode recently, and it's the first time Tom Green left his house to join Rogan in the studio, because Rogan actually is testing people because he's got that in the budget. He's able to just test people when they come to the studio, and if they're clear, doing them in studio. I look forward to being back in the studio.
My Lord, that's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, I've been listening to podcasts nonstop, and it's just been a huge lifesaver for me. If we didn't have them, I don't know. I'm not as much of a TV guy or a movie guy as you, so it's definitely kept me sane through all this. Yeah,
that's good. As long as it keeps, just find a way to get through it, find a way to continue to press forward and improve yourself. So everybody can, and if it's podcasts, it's podcasts. If it's movies for me, books for everybody, books for other people, movies and working out for me, and then being with my family. Whatever you need to do to get through it, just continue on. And like I said, we put things in perspective. We have it great, guys. If you want to watch a show, it's a documentary that was on, I believe, Starz. It was called Fathers and Sons, and it's about a family and it's a documentary. Actually, it's about a family that grows up, an ISIS family. They call themselves Al-Nusra. Honestly, they think there's a difference. ISIS and then Al-Nusra, if you guys that don't understand the global war on terrorists, Al-Nusra feels like they are the true Al-Qaeda followers, where ISIS, they feel like ISIS is not. They don't really follow Al-Qaeda's teachings to the letter. So one's more, but they're both terrorist guys. It's the same, but it follows the kids. It follows these young kids growing up and their father, who is actually ISIS. And I just want people to watch that, because it's about the family and the kids, and really it puts things in perspective. Do we really have it that bad with what's going on right now? Do we really have it that bad? And that's how I look at things. Like, because I that's where I talked about the Afghanistan with that little post I did with the King's Tomb. Those are the kids. That's why firefight. There'll be a firefight, and the kids would still be playing at the playground. I remember driving by Kabul, by the university, and there was a little playground. I see little kids playing, and I remember my son, Christian, he was like 4 at the time. He's 15 now. And I remember thinking, if my son was here, he wouldn't give any crap about Al-Qaeda, Taliban, or anything. He would just want to go play with those Afghani kids there and all this shit. And it really puts things in perspective for me when things get bad, like we think it gets bad. That's why I don't think it's that bad, to be honest, because these people, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel for that. There's none, zero. And I want people to see it. If you really want it, it's a tearjerker a little bit, but it doesn't really have a happy ending either. But I think it puts things into perspective. So I just called Fathers and Sons, I believe, and it's one of those documentary movies. I want to say Stars, but it might be HBO, and it may even be on Netflix. So check it out if you can.
Well said, man. And I guess I'll leave it with this on my end, because I think we said it during the podcast. Really, if the past month and a half got you in a rut, it's never too late. And I'm preaching this because I need to hear it. It's never too late to get back into some of those good habits or develop new good habits, and say, you know what, I'm going to push forward through this. I'm going to persevere through this. And I think Kristof did a great job of explaining that.
Yep, outstanding, brother. Well said. I've said my piece. I think that's a great way to end it right there.
All right, guys. Every Monday and Friday moving forward, you're going to hear new shows from us. And I think next month is gearing up to be our, this coming month, May, because you'll hear this in May. May is gearing up to be our best month yet in terms of guests and all over, the field in terms of tactical community, special operations, musicians. We're keeping things as versatile as possible.
Yep, definitely. And just come on and just get cheered up and know that we're not going to get super political, if political at all. We may have our opinions, but really what the Battleline Podcast is all about is just giving some positivity and giving some tools for you out there to overcome adversity and just continue to move forward. That's all it is. I guess Battleline Podcast is the switch is on, mother effer. Just continue to move forward. Just move forward.
That's all for this episode of Battleline Podcast. But we have new shows up every Monday and Friday, so make sure you're subscribed. And keep up with the show 24/7 on Facebook and Instagram at Battleline Podcast. Also on Twitter at Battleline Pod. As always, never quit.